Welcome back to my channel. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. It's great to have you here, my friend. Never underestimate the power of one day. Sometimes we live as if days are endless, as if the next one will always come, as if time will wait for us to get ready. But one day can change everything. One day, a heart decides to forgive. One day, a man finds courage to begin again. One day, a woman chooses to believe in herself after years of doubt. One single sunrise can become the doorway to a whole new life. You see, life doesn't always change in giant leaps. Most of the time, it shifts quietly in the small moments we almost miss. Maybe today you woke up tired. Maybe you feel stuck in the same routine. Maybe your dreams feel far away. But this day right here has power. It's another chance to do something new, to take one small step forward, to learn one new word, to say one kind thing. You never know how one small act can ripple through your life like a stone dropped into still water. Every great story begins with one day when someone decided not to give up. One day when they said, "I'm going to try again." Think of all the people who changed the world. They all had a one day. One day they stood up. One day they chose faith over fear. And from that moment, everything started to shift. Maybe your one day is today. Maybe this is the day you stop saying, "I can't," and start saying, "I can learn." Maybe this is the day you forgive yourself for every past mistake and let go of the things that have been holding you back. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to take one small step, one moment of courage that begins to turn your life around. There's something sacred about beginnings. Each morning the sun rises and the light spills across the earth, whispering, "You have another chance." The same light that touches the tallest mountains reaches into your window, too. It's an invitation not from the world outside, but from the strength within you. And maybe you think your one day will come later when you're ready, when life feels easier, when the right time finally arrives. But I've learned that there's no perfect time. There's only today. The power of one day is not found in the calendar. It's found in your decision to make it count. So don't waste this one. Speak that word. Take that chance. Begin that lesson. Open your heart to what's possible. Because one day you'll look back and realize this was the day that started it all, the day when hope became real, when courage found its voice, and when you decided to begin again. This is your one day. Make it the day that matters. My friend, learning is a journey, not a race. Too many of us move through life measuring ourselves against others, comparing our steps, our speed, our progress, as if the goal is to reach the finish line before someone else. But learning doesn't work that way. Growth doesn't happen in competition. It happens in commitment. You can't rush the process of becoming who you're meant to be. Every word you learn, every mistake you make, every lesson you face, they're all part of the road you're walking. Sometimes that road feels long. You listen to someone speak English fluently and think, "I'll never get there." You open a book and the words feel heavy, unfamiliar, almost impossible. But that's the beauty of the journey. It humbles you. It teaches you patience, discipline, and grace. The moment you accept that learning takes time is the moment you begin to truly grow. Because learning is not about speed, it's about transformation. You don't plant a seed and expect a tree overnight. You water it, you wait, you trust the process. You don't rush the sunrise, it comes when it's ready. In the same way, your progress may seem slow, but that doesn't mean it's not real. Every time you study a new word, every time you listen carefully and understand a phrase you didn't know before, that's progress. Those small victories are the quiet evidence that something inside you is changing. I've met people who gave up too soon, not because they couldn't learn, but because they didn't see instant results. They mistook waiting for failing. But the truth is, anything worth having takes time. Patience is not weakness, it's strength in motion. It's the power to keep going even when you can't yet see the reward. And yes, you will make mistakes. You'll stumble over your words. You'll forget grammar rules. You'll feel embarrassed at times, but those mistakes are not signs of failure, they're signs of effort. Every time you get something wrong, it means you were brave enough to try, and trying is how learning is born. Perfection doesn't teach you much, but mistakes, they teach you everything. You see, learning is like walking a path that never truly ends. The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to discover. And that's not discouragement, that's the wonder of it. You don't learn English just to finish, you learn to connect, to understand, to express who you are. That's the real reward, not reaching the end faster, but walking the road faithfully. So don't be discouraged if your progress feels slow. Keep walking one step at a time. Celebrate every little improvement, every word you pronounce clearly, every sentence you understand. Because one day, without even noticing, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Stay steady, keep walking, your journey is leading you somewhere beautiful. Stories are the heart of language. When you listen to a story, you're not just hearing words strung together, you're stepping into another world. You feel what the characters feel, you see through their eyes, you walk their roads. A story has the power to open hearts that logic can't touch, to connect people who don't even speak the same tongue. That's the beauty of it. Stories make us human. They remind us that no matter where we come from, our joys and sorrows speak the same language. Think about the first story that ever moved you. Maybe it was something simple, a tale told by a parent, a friend, or a teacher. Maybe it wasn't even in English, but you remember it, don't you? Not because of the grammar or vocabulary, but because it made you feel. That's what language truly is, not a list of rules, but a vessel for emotion. You don't learn language only to speak, you learn it to share. When you listen to stories in English, you're doing more than practicing, you're connecting with the rhythm of the culture, the heart behind the words. You begin to understand how people think, how they hope, how they dream. A simple story about friendship teaches compassion. A story about courage gives you strength. Through stories, language becomes alive, no longer something you memorize, but something you experience. And when you tell your own story, something even more powerful happens. You begin to see your own life differently. You start to find meaning in your struggles, pride in your progress, beauty in your journey. That's the miracle of storytelling. It transforms the ordinary into something sacred. Each word becomes a bridge between you and the world. Some people study English as if it's just a subject, something to master and move on from. But those who fall in love with stories, they learn faster, they remember longer, they speak with warmth, because stories don't just teach language, they teach life. You learn not just how to talk, but how to listen. Not just how to read, but how to understand. And maybe you're listening now, thinking your English isn't good enough yet to understand every word of every story. But let me tell you, even when you don't understand it all, your heart does. Language is more than what your ears hear. It's what your soul absorbs. Each story you hear, each scene you imagine, each emotion you feel, it's shaping you, little by little, into someone who can not only speak English but feel it. So don't just study words, live them. Let stories become your teacher, your guide, your friend. Listen to them, tell them, breathe them in. Because every story you hear in English doesn't just teach you a language, it teaches you to understand the world a little more deeply and to love it a little more fully. Because stories aren't just told, they're lived, and they live within you. Don't let fear steal your voice. I've seen so many people hold back their words, not because they have nothing to say, but because they're afraid of being wrong. They're afraid someone will laugh, afraid their accent will sound strange, afraid their grammar won't be perfect. But silence never teaches you anything, courage does. Every time you choose silence over speech, you rob yourself of the very thing that would make you stronger. You see, fear is a thief. It sneaks into your heart and convinces you that it's safer to stay quiet, safer not to try. But fear is a liar. It tells you that mistakes mean failure, when in truth, mistakes are proof that you're growing. No one ever learned to speak perfectly without first stumbling over their words. Even a child learning to walk falls hundreds of times before taking that first steady step. So why should learning to speak be any different? When you open your mouth and try, even if the words come out broken, something powerful happens. You begin to hear yourself, and your voice starts to believe in itself. Each time you speak, no matter how small the sentence, you are pushing back against the voice of fear. You are saying, I may not be perfect, but I'm learning. I'm not silent anymore. That's how confidence is born, not in comfort, but in courage. So many learners wait for the day they'll feel ready. But that day never comes. You'll never wake up suddenly fearless. The only way to lose fear is to face it. Speak when you're scared. Speak when you're unsure. Speak when your voice trembles. Because the moment you do, fear begins to shrink. And every word you speak becomes a brick in the foundation of your confidence. You might think others will judge you, but most people aren't listening for perfection. They're listening for connection. They want to understand your story, your heart, your ideas. The accent you're ashamed of, that's your fingerprint. It tells the story of where you come from, what you've overcome, and how hard you've worked. Your voice is unique. It deserves to be heard, not hidden. And yes, there will be moments when you make mistakes and people correct you. Don't take that as shame, take it as progress. Every correction is a sign that you're moving forward. Silence might feel safe, but it leads nowhere. Courage feels risky, but it leads to growth. If you can speak one word today, speak it. If you can form one sentence, say it loud. Don't wait until you're perfect to use your voice. Use your voice to become better. Let your words carry the sound of your courage, because when you speak, you not only learn the language, you awaken something powerful inside yourself. Speak with courage, because your voice was never meant to be silent. One day becomes every day. That's how real change begins, not in a rush, not in a moment of perfection, but in the quiet choice to keep going. You decide to learn for one day, and that one day turns into two. Before long, you realize it's become a rhythm, a part of who you are. That's the secret of success. It's not built in great leaps, but in steady steps. It's not about doing everything at once, but doing something faithfully every single day. So many people start strong and then stop when it gets hard. They feel inspired for a moment, but when results don't come fast enough, they lose heart. But the truth is, greatness is hidden in the ordinary. The big victories are born out of small, unseen choices, the times you study when you're tired, the times you practice when no one is watching, the times you keep going even when you don't feel like it. That's where success grows. Every day you show up to learn. You're not just improving your English, you're building discipline, resilience, and confidence. You're proving to yourself that you can be consistent, that you can keep promises to yourself. And that changes more than your language. It changes your character, because consistency builds strength, and strength builds success. There will be days when you don't see the progress. Days when the words won't come easily, when you forget what you thought you knew, when you wonder if it's even worth it. But I promise you it is. Each of those days counts. Every minute you spend learning adds to something greater. Just like drops of water fill a river, every effort flows into the current of your growth. You may not see the current moving, but it's carrying you forward. And something beautiful happens when learning becomes a habit. It stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like a part of your life. You no longer ask, should I study today? because it's simply what you do. The same way you breathe, you learn. The same way the sun rises each morning, you show up again. That's when success stops being a goal and starts being your nature. So don't underestimate one day, because one day of learning, repeated again and again, becomes the story of your transformation. The greatest achievements aren't made in a single moment. They're made in the steady rhythm of showing up. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be faithful. Keep doing it one word, one lesson, one day at a time. And before you know it, one day will become every day. And every day will become the life you once dreamed of, a life built not on speed, but on persistence, not on talent alone, but on the power of showing up again and again. Keep showing up, because one day will become the day that changes every day. The most important story you'll ever hear is not the one written in a book or spoken by someone else. It's the one you tell yourself when no one is listening. The story that plays quietly in your mind when you wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror. That story shapes everything. It decides how far you'll go, how much you'll grow, and how deeply you'll believe in what's possible for you. So many people live their lives trapped in a story that tells them they're not good enough. They say to themselves, "I'll never learn," or "I'm too old," or "I'm not smart enough." They listen to those words as if they were truth, when in reality, they're just fears wearing the mask of reason. The truth is, you can learn, you can grow, you can change, but first, you must change the story that you keep repeating in your heart. When you tell yourself, "I can learn this," something inside you begins to awaken. Your mind opens, your heart steadies, and suddenly what seemed impossible begins to feel possible. The way you talk to yourself matters more than you think, because every word you speak inside your mind plants a seed, and those seeds grow into your beliefs, your habits, and your actions. If you plant words of doubt, you'll grow fear. But if you plant words of faith, you'll grow strength. That's why it's so important to guard your inner story. Don't let it become a place of defeat. Don't let the mistakes of yesterday write the next chapter of your life. You are not your failures. You are not your struggles. You are the person who gets back up, who keeps learning, who refuses to quit. When you learn English or anything new, your biggest challenge isn't grammar or vocabulary. It's the story you tell yourself about your ability to learn. If you say, "I can't do this," your mind stops trying. But if you say, "I'll find a way," your mind begins searching for one. You give yourself permission to grow. You start seeing progress in places you didn't expect, because your belief starts working for you instead of against you. The world around you may not always encourage you. Some people might doubt you, criticize you, or laugh at your effort. But you must remember their voices only have power if they become part of your story. You get to decide what story to live by. You get to decide which voice becomes your truth. So tell yourself the right story, one that lifts you up, one that gives you hope. Speak to yourself with kindness. Speak to yourself like someone who's worth believing in, because you are. When your inner story changes, your whole world begins to shift. The doors that once felt locked begin to open, and suddenly you find yourself walking into the life you once thought was too far to reach. Change your story and you will change your life. And that's the message, my friends, every day, every word. Every story you live brings you closer to the person you're meant to be. If today's message inspired you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more uplifting stories and lessons to grow your English and your heart. Share it with someone who needs a little encouragement today. Keep believing, keep learning, and keep speaking with courage. Until next time, keep your light shining.